pre-revolutionary Russia, where civil resistance is seen being championed by a nihilist by the name of Sergei Negev, who tries to ignite a revolution of such destructive power that society will become unhinged, will be completely destroyed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that a United States president would would quote a phrase like that in an official speech or record was absolutely astonishing to many analysts, given that The Possessed is about violent government crackdown on dissent that sparks civil unrest and revolution marked by public violence. Furthermore, Fire in the Minds of Men is also a title that historian James H. Billington, as Dr. Monteith has quite often referred to, chose for his famous book on the history of revolutions, including the origin of occult Freemasonry and its influence in the American Revolution, which was also very interesting because in his closing statements, Bush himself referred to the Masonic involvement in the American Revolution, saying, when our founders declared a new order of the ages, they were acting on an ancient hope that is meant to be fulfilled. Did any of you remember catching that?
When our founders declared a new order of the ages, they were acting on an ancient hope that is meant to be fulfilled.
When they made this phrase, Novus Ordo Seclorum, they were acting on an ancient hope, an ancient scheme, an ancient plan that evidently hasn't yet been fulfilled at that time, because he said it is still meant to be fulfilled. Well, this phrase, a new order of the ages, is of course taken from the Masonically designed Great Seal of the United States of America, which we'll talk about in a moment. But this was interesting that Bush referred to this as an ancient hope. I guess a hope for some people, maybe a nightmare for others. But to the illumined elite, really, and a handful of historians and scholars, these inaugural addresses by the president were really just important additions in a larger series of carefully crafted speeches in which line-by-line analysis of his public references seemed to be uncovering what appeared to be coded messages that were being sent to somebody. And by the way, I wasn't the only one that saw that. I wrote a lot about it. I wrote about it for WorldNet Daily. I wrote about it for News with Views. Dr. Stan and I talked about it on 2 or 3 shows. About biblical scholar Bruce Lincoln discovered the same thing. Surprisingly, in his examinations of speeches by Bush. In American Dynasty, Kevin Phillips confirmed the same message coding by Bush. And at the top of Phillips' list was reference again to this metaphysical phrase, whirlwind, which he interpreted as representing the voice of God in the books of Job and Ezekiel. Of course, from an esoteric point of view, Phillips was either unaware of or was unwilling to discuss the deeper contemporary meaning of that language and its known importance to secret societies, which we will come to in a moment. But author Bob Woodward noted the same thing in his book, Bush at War, talking about how just 3 days after 9/11, the president began using, in his phrase here, a bizarre mix of Armageddon theology in presidential briefings. In fact, we've learned a lot more about this recently, and how Bush, in fact, may have even been being manipulated. Now, was he in on it? Probably. But at what level did it go even higher than the president? Because we know that there are powers operating much higher than the president. And it seemed that even, Donald Rumsfeld, remember this, that was in the news maybe 6-7 months ago as defense secretary, he was routinely transcribing or adorning top secret memos for both the president and cabinet members during the Iraq War, using prophetic quotations from the Bible. So it absolutely, and of course Donald Rumsfeld is on record as having known religious persuasions or convictions that would be similar to what is known about the Bush family. So it absolutely appeared that there was a hand that was operating behind the president, that was even manipulating the president of the United States, but for what purpose? To what end?
We know the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. Do you not think an angel rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm? Much time has passed since Jefferson arrived for his inauguration. The years and changes accumulate, and an angel still rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm.
For me, when I first was contemplating Bush's angel in the whirlwind references and how that was used to set the stage in the American psyche for this allegorical cosmic conflict between the forces of good and evil, the good United States versus the evil spirit of Babylon. And I was writing about this one day, and I recalled how in 1992, this was a full 9 years before Bush's speech, 9 years before the America was attacked. Former MI6 intelligence officer, Dr. John Coleman, had written a book called The Committee of 300. I don't know if any of you have ever read that, but in it he claims inside knowledge concerning world manipulation by an occult Illuminati elite. And according to Coleman, the angel in the whirlwind is also known as the Mariah conquering wind, and it's actually a title not only are the highest of the occult order known by, but in particular it is a phrase that is used at important moments in time. They're signaling each other. Now exactly what they were signaling to each other, I don't know, but I will tell you, to researchers like David Bay, my friend who's the director of Cutting Edge Ministries, the signal was clear. The events surrounding 9/11 was, in his opinion, either designed for or was handily used for, after the fact, a catalyst to set the stage for the final stages in the Masonic Baconian dream of the New Atlantis. The New Atlantis, of course, being what Freemason and Rosicrucian adepts of Bacon believed was the goal of the Americas, that the United States was to become the new Atlantis. Now, among other things, I will say this. At an occult level, at a deeply occult level, if before 9/11 leaders of truly dark powers had determined that the ascendancy for the new Atlantis had finally arrived, then occult magical tradition suggests that they might have triggered an event. And this would be something surrounding a mega ritual offering. I mean, are we talking about the people who died on 9/11? I would sure hope not. But it would have to be something powerful enough, according to their belief system, to move, to compel this angel in the whirlwind, these supernatural forces to whom they have made their allegiance. It would have to be something that would instigate a series of events towards a novus ordo seclorum or an ordo ad chaos, a series of events leading us into such chaos that it would bring the world to its knees in hopes of redemption, in hopes of a Savior, in hope of somebody. And I think that had a lot to do with this last presidential election. We don't even care anymore. Just give us the devil. Give us anybody who can save us from where we are headed. It would also have to be something that would embed deeply into the mind, burn unforgettable images into the minds of uninitiated citizens for the purpose of creating contagious memes, self-replicating ideas that start getting carried from person to person through speech and symbol and rituals and gestures in order to create support for a war on terror and also to create tolerance for diminishing domestic freedoms. Freedoms we wouldn't even have dreamed about a decade ago giving up, but now we're willing to give them up because we need somebody to step in now and save us from the destructive road that we are on.